We actually do have the chance. We still have some time, and we still have a lot of intelligent people like us.
And we're really proud of this one.
So we're just overjoyed that we're finally here. And I'm most happy to welcome you all tonight to this fantastic event. I hope so. But don't worry, I won't bore you with a long speech, as I guess you're not here for me, but for all the other sweet and lovely ladies. Libby, Renée, and Noëmi.
Thank you, Sabine, for the kind introduction, and thank you for hosting us here tonight. It is an honor to be moderating this event today. My name is Noëmi. I'm strongly connected to the both of the ladies here and very passionate about sustainability as well. Started my journey 13 years ago when deciding to study material science at ETH. Went through climate tech, corporate sustainability, and now work in nature-based solution. But the most beautiful part about this journey was to meet brilliant people, and these two especially. And that's why we're all here today, is Renée LaPlante and Libby O'Loghlin. And I have the honor to introduce them here today. So let me make a bigger introduction to really put some weight to the beautiful book that they have written. So we're here to talk about the book called DECARBONISTA. And perhaps this name remembers something in all of you. It is actually the same name that Renée has chosen for DECARBONISTA, the impact initiative. She already founded it back in 2019. Through the DECARBONISTA initiative, and as a culture innovation, people performance consultant, as a board member, educator, Renée has harnessed her expertise to improve the trajectory of climate change globally for biodiversity protection and human integrity. Renée crafts and delivers programs to global clients, including carbon footprinting impact workshops together with the Worldwide Fund for Nature. During her time as a board member of the Swiss nonprofit Green Up, she also co-founded, I hear some of you are here today, she co-founded the Climate Hub. The Climate Hub is a hub at the World Economic Forum and ever since runs on a yearly basis, attracting global leaders in sustainability. So thank you for that. And at iLuna, she brings together her tech expertise and sustainability passion to advise on sustainability and cybersecurity on this behavioral change platform. She also calls herself a carbon footprint coach and has personally mentored already over 1,000 people, both in workshops, online, and one-on-one coachings, to transform their lives from the source of greenhouse gas emissions to establish new consumption patterns, regenerative practices, towards intentional low footprint living. And that's what we hear today. She's also a very talented facilitator, educator, presenter, and I think we'll hear and see some of that today. So give a round of applause to Renée.
Thanks, Noëmi.
And the second half of this book is really dedicated by Libby. She is a fantastic human being and has
That's it.
and has amazing complementary skills. I'm really impressed. She's a longtime writer and content producer who grew up across 4 different continents in Australia, US, in England, and Malaysia. She is actually a writer by trade and has several decades of experience in a range of different genre and even narrative media, which means she's been on TV news, current affairs, radio, podcasting, and films. I think there's nothing that you haven't done. Libby's poems and novels and short stories have been published and listed for numerous prizes. And she has also created comics, videos, and animations for sustainability and corporate trainings and even in the health sector. So Libby is also the one responsible for all the creative illustrations in the book that you will hopefully see later as well. She has taught and coached writers even, so also gave her knowledge to the next generation and the communities at all stages of life, developing teaching screenwriting at universities, creative writing workshops, but also designing creative poetry and prose programs for people in recovery in private clinics. So, and if that would not have been enough, she holds a certificate in plant-based nutrition, and I think there it starts the connection to Renée. And in 2020, she even co-founded the startup DECARBONIze, a tech solution designed for large-scale manufacturing, decarbonization as head of strategic communication. And now she's also the reason why we're here today. She also is, as said before, working in this bookstore as head of department and the bookshop, the English book selection. And I think that's why she knows which book was missing and has put her hands down and wrote it together with Renée. So this was it for Libby. Please, small round of applause. Thank you. So this is about a carbon footprint and the awareness about it. So what was your first interaction with your own carbon footprint?
Oh, well, I'd first really like to just thank everyone for coming, because it's just such a significant moment for us, and we're absolutely thrilled that everyone could come. Thank you. Yeah, there are people here who have accompanied us on this adventure the whole time along the way, and there are people that we would not have met if we hadn't dived down this rabbit hole. So, speaking of rabbit holes, Renée,
I am the rabbit hole person of the group. Thanks, Libby. Actually, I also have to say thank you to a few people before we jump into the question. It's incredible to be here. I'm going to try not to cry. But just so you have some context, in this room, there are people I've known for more than 20 years. Friends I met here when I first moved to Switzerland, friends I've met in the past few weeks, and everybody in between. Former colleagues at Google, friends from my women's groups, friends from my neighbors. There's neighbors here, okay? This is how special this is to me tonight. Friends from Green Up, which you heard because they're very vocal and fabulous. Stefan is here. Our daughter is here with her friends up front. Co-workers from WWF. I could go on, but I just have to thank you really, truly from the bottom of my heart for showing up tonight and for showing up for us as well as showing up for the topic. So, thank you. I could stop here and just have champagne, but we're going to go a little bit into this monster so that you get a bit of context about what this is all about. So the story on my footprint is kind of specific, and it's because it started as a constellation. And the constellation was, I had left my job at Google, and I knew I wanted to advocate for the environment, for children and animals. I did not know what I was going to do, and luckily I had a partner who was working, so I was able to assume responsibility as home CEO, and I was able to have that job and take care of our tiny child, who was tiny at the time, and really just kind of figure myself out what was coming next. Luckily, I also couldn't vote at the time. So I say luckily because it allowed me to really explore what was in my toolbox in terms of activism, in terms of making change without this kind of lever of voting, which is, by the way, incredibly important to everybody, to all of this cause, obviously. But when you can't vote, there's other things you have to do, right? So I also wanted to just harness all my skills and just get to work right away. I didn't want to like go back to school and try to, have a degree after 3 more years. Like this problem was so urgent. We needed to tackle it. I needed to tackle it straight away. So I started reading the IPCC report. I became mortified with the future that was in progress for my child. And I realized I needed a data-driven baseline, some place to start that would allow me to make progress, make change, and make, feel like we were going somewhere. And that's when I stumbled upon footprint reduction calculators, which have kind of a bad rap, but I'm going to say, like, they're very informative. And so it got me started, and it gave me the chance to say, okay, here's my number. It's something to begin with, and therefore I'm going to start whittling away. And I had to work backwards. I had to figure out what it meant. What were all the spaces and the gaps? Like, why was my number so high when I didn't even own a car? So all of those things added up to me getting really down the rabbit hole of what footprints are. And you're going to benefit from that. And you don't have to do that because I did it for you. Libby, how did you get about to it?
Well, I must say the actual carbon footprint calculation, that's down to Renée, because I think over the course of my, I've just lost my sound. I think over the course of my life, I've tended to do things a little more on the intuitive way, and my family life, my husband and I, we would always consider that, yeah, okay, we want to step lightly on the planet, so we'll try and do that. But I didn't actually crunch any numbers until Renée challenged me and said, Libby, you seem like you have a pretty low footprint. Shall we just see if it actually is a low footprint? And so when I did actually finally calculate it, indeed I did have a fairly low footprint, which was, to me, I guess not a surprise, but the surprising part of it for me was that it enabled me to kind of look at where my footprint was bumping up against other people that I was interacting with, like my family and, even just people going out to dinner and things like that. It was like, oh, I'm actually very interconnected here. So it was an interesting exercise in that way. And I think the doubly interesting part for me was that, especially talking to Renée about it, I realized that both of us were having low footprint success, if you like to call it that, but we were doing it in really different ways. And we found that we were actually learning from each other. So that was the interesting part for me about doing the calculation. So we actually met at Google when we were invited to a panel discussion to present on the panel. And that was the first time that we met. And we connected quite well, and that was all good and interesting. And we were talking actually on that panel about integration and adaptation and these kind of big concepts that people come across when they're moving to a new place and they want to actually find their new life, if you like. And then afterwards we connected fairly, on email type situation. And then one Christmas I got an email from Renée and Stefan and Lark saying Happy Christmas, Happy Holidays. This year we're going to be taking a really good look at our carbon footprint. I don't know if you remember that. And I thought, yeah, okay. She said in the email, who's interested? And I was like, well, yeah, actually I am interested in that topic and I'm interested in taking it further. So I don't even know if you recall that email, but that was one of the things that we connected on. And after that, we did connect. We went to have lunch a few times, and then we realized that we had more than just a passing interest, and that our love for the natural world and for concern about what the heck is going on the planet right now is a little bit more urgent than just having a nice conversation. And so we connected a little bit more seriously, and then COVID rolled around and we thought, as everybody did, let's make a podcast. So we started that, but then even like 3 or 4 weeks in, we were just like, actually, I think this is a book. And I went, heck yeah, that's a book. So that's my recollection. But
Okay,
yeah.
but what Libby doesn't know is that day when we met at Google and we're on the panel together, I was like, she's so cool, I want to know her. And I literally like stalked her and I kind of like made friends with her and I made sure that she was my friend first. And then we were like, well,
Strategy.
maybe we should do a project together. And things really did evolve from there.
Yeah.
I also have to point out that on the very first time that I did the WWF workshop, when I designed it, it was like a 4.5 hour, 5 hour workshop. And it was a monster. And I was like, kind of like how I write, we write. I really had this moment where I was panicking because it was the first time I was kind of coming out with my passion for the environment and my wish to actually affect people and my wish to bring awareness to people who might not like to hear what I have to say. And Libby looked at me and was like, I'll come along and I'm going to take notes in the back and I'm going to help out and I'm going to make vegan muffins. And I can tell you that that was like the most calming and like warming moment of our friendship at that time because I was like, okay, I don't have to be alone, and actually, vegan muffins sound awesome, and yeah, everybody needs a Libby. Everybody needs a Libby. So,
Thank you, Renée.
well, it's so true. So over time, obviously, we learned we have complementary skills. We have similar passions. We both are parents. We both are very concerned about the future. We both take this topic very seriously, and we want to do the right thing. And we want to really make things move faster. So bringing all that together was like it was fun. It was great. It was positive. It was energetic. When I had a low, she had a high. When I had a high, she had a low. Like we just complemented each other. So like this book really was a long time, I think. We were having a lot of fun doing it.
We did have a lot of fun doing it, yeah.
You know, and so, but it still needed that amount of time to really become what it is. So we're just delighted. Thank you.
I'll take the keyword book. Let's get to the book. And let's start with the front page. I don't know if you've seen it around. Why is there an orange? So,
Does anybody want to guess? Just kidding.
Has someone, yeah. Who has a guess?
Workshop facilitator alert.
Someone of you has a guess?
Okay. So I'm going to take that one because actually it comes down to Libby's genius. But imagine that you want to squeeze a glass of juice and you want a glass of orange juice, you cut the orange in half and you look at it and you see the shape and you see segments of the orange, okay? So this is a really nice way for our brains to understand categories and to understand how to group things. And so we kind of were playing around with ways to categorize. And of course, we could have used a pie. You know, pies are very common. They're not as nutritious and juicy. So we also picked up on the fact that this has a lot of fun language. It's a natural thing, right? It's a very pure and natural thing from the natural world. And it allows us to kind of talk about the segments. So food is what? Food is food waste. Food is what you eat. Food is dining out. What is movement? Movement is commuting. Movement is traveling. Movement is what you get delivered to you, right? So it allowed us to take the topics of the footprint and put them into a fun metaphor. And then from there, we actually could take it even further. And we got into this beautiful graphic that Libby designed. We call it the Decarbonista plan. And this is for you to basically follow through in a 7-step process to eventually get to a plan where you can just relax, stress-free, and just focus on your footprint reduction. Okay, so it's purposefully designed with joyful, positive, juicy language so that you have a positive association with this. Because how many of us know how drab and sad and difficult this topic can be, right? And we haven't experienced it that way because we've actually had a lot of joy, we've had a lot of success, and we've seen a lot of potential, like huge potential for us as privileged people to actually make change in the world. So this was our orange. It just gave us a lot of runway for fun and great language.
I love it. So now to you, Libby, and as you are the bookstore expert here,
Sabine?
I'm sure you've seen a lot of books.
Yeah.
How is this book different from the other books that you see around here that are also about climate change?
Yeah, well, when we were doing our research, we noticed that there were a couple of buckets, significant buckets or genres, if you like, for this topic, and one of them was fairly data heavy with a lot of science and a lot of big picture direction about the way we should be going and the way businesses could move, and a lot of numbers, and it's extremely helpful and needed. And on the other big bucket, I guess, was more of a visioning kind of creative response to what's happening on the planet at the moment. And a lot of that involves fear and concern, and back to that concept of that topic that we were discussing right at the beginning at Google, was about adaptation and integration, and how do we actually adapt to what the heck is going on at the moment on the planet. And so there was a sort of a creative response there. But what we decided to do was actually try to bridge those so that we had something that was basically profoundly personal way to develop a plan, if you like. And we know from our work and experience as coaches that having an actual plan is just gold. And that was key for us, that we wanted to have that visioning aspect so that we can all feel like we're moving in a direction that is hopeful and joyful, but not away with the fairies, because we want it to be completely practical and measurable, which it is.